Hello and welcome to our series of grammar in use. In this video, we are going to explore the past tense overview. That means we are going to summarize all the tenses that we have learned so far. We are requested to have a pen and notepad handy so that you can take down the pointers and construct sentences along with us. Let us dive into it. The past tense overview. So far we have learned the simple past tense, past perfect, past continuous tense, past perfect tense, and past perfect continuous tense. So let us explore and see the with examples. The simple past tense, the past simple tense, either way it can be said. Simple past tense refers to a single completed action in the past. For example, it will take an ed as a with a regular verb. Phil washed his car on Tuesday. This is a completed action in the past with that is now over. The next example that we have is the past continuous tense. The past continuous tense refers to a continuing action in the past. The last time I saw Phil, he was washing his car. Was washing is past continuous tense. This is an auxiliary which is in the past, and the verb is with ing showing continuous, so it is past continuous tense. At that moment he was in the process of washing his car. Then we have the present perfect. Simple refers to an unfinished action or series of actions that started in the past, or past actions that still have a consequence in the present moment. For example, if you want to say that Eve has arrived in London, what you mean is that in the very present moment, this action has started and nearly come to a completion, but has not really ended. The action has not really ended. So has arrived it in the present zone. Eve is still in London, so it is still relevant to the present moment. So has arrived is still relevant because of the action. If you want to mention that the relevance in the present moment, so you use has arrived or present perfect tense. Next we have the present perfect continuous tense, refers to the continuing activity in the past that still has a consequence in the present moment. I have been painting the house all day, and the impact or the effect of that which is in the present is that I am exhausted. This is a consequence in the present moment. Now after understanding the structures, let us have a little comparison of simple past with present perfect. Let us see. Phil washed his car on Tuesday. The action completed and it is now over. We do not discuss it any further. There is no need to mention it. But when present perfect has got certain consequences in the present moment, that is the reason we use has after the subject. Eve has arrived in London. That means currently she is in London, so it is relevant to discuss. The next example that we had seen was the past continuous tense. The action continued in the past. At the moment he was in the process of washing his car, so the action continued in the past. When we use present perfect continuous, we have an impact in the present. So when present perfect continuous refers to a continued activity in the past that still has some consequences in the present. This action was continuing in the past and it got over, but this action has some impact in the present. So have been painting the house all day. What are the consequences? Consequences are that I am exhausted. There's a little difference. There's a reason for using a particular specific tense that is to be understood, which tends to select and use for writing. Let us proceed. The second pointer that we have in our today's lesson is that uh, simple past tense and present perfect tense. What is the difference between the two? That we need to establish. The simple past tense is used to refer a single completed action or events in the past. These no longer have a consequence in the present moment. We have seen this in the previous slide also, that for example, I wrote my essay about ancient Greece. Now the essay is over, I have submitted, I have finished, I do need not mention it any further. The essay is finished, so the past simple or the simple past is used. There is I lost my keys. There's no longer relevant to the present moment. I lost it, but I found them on my desk because the keys were found, so the action is over and completed. Now, when we use present perfect tense, present perfect is used to refer an action events in the past that are unfinished. Unfinished due to certain reasons, either the action, the impact of the action is seen in the present because the impact is remaining to be completed. That is why we call it unfinished, or still having consequences in the present moment. For example, I have written. The have shows present. Written is in the third form of verb. The essay is unfinished, so the present perfect simple is used. I have written half of my essay, but I need to finish it. So the consequence in the present is that there's a need or urgency or the need to finish it. I have lost my keys. I can't find them anywhere. I have lost is have is present, lost is a present perfect tense. Now the keys are still lost in the present moment, so the present perfect simple is used. And the consequences in the present is that I can't find them anymore or anywhere. I hope the difference is understood. Let us proceed to the next. There are 8 different ways to talk about the past in English. The differences between the past simple and the present perfect tense are particularly very important to understand. You may refer other videos for a better understanding which were recorded earlier and shared. Let us see the examples that we have before us. In every sentence we have at least 2 different tenses so that you will definitely understand the 8 ways of expressing the past tense. The past perfect is simple, or the past perfect refers to an action or an event that took place before another action or event in the past. So the simple past is used, or the past perfect is used when one action has completed, after that another action is completed, and now you are in the present zone. So in the present zone, when you walk back on the timeline, you come across the first action that is closer to you. You use simple past for that. And an action that was completed before that, you use past perfect for that. Now let us proceed to the next tense, that is past perfect continuous tense. Past perfect continuous refers to the continuing action or the event that was taking place before another action or event that happened in the past. Now, the past perfect continuous tense was a continuing action that continued in the past, and after that, an action interrupted it. Now, when you are in the present zone and you walk back on the time zone, you first come across an action, so you use simple past for that. And when you go further down on the timeline, you see a past continuing action which was interrupted. I had been feeling unwell for days, so I went to the doctor. So these are 2 actions, one after the other. The one that is closer on the timeline to us with simple past is used, and the one which is far away we used past perfect continuous tense for that because it continued in the past tense for some time. The next we have to express certain habits. Used to and would are used to talk about repeated actions in the past that no longer happen. Repeated actions in the past that no longer happen. I used to go to Spain every year. That means it was a habit to go to Spain every year. And would is used for formal expression. I would go to Spain every year. Used to can be used to refer to a fixed state at some indefinite time in the past that is no longer true. For example, I used to live. Over here, live is the state, or it's in the state form, not in the action form. So that is why we don't use would at all. I used to live in London. Live is in a state, so would cannot be used. Let us proceed further and now compile all the tenses and see how it is constructed. The key language narrative tenses, these are the tenses you need to use for story writing or essay writing, paragraph writing. Let us understand which tense to use and why. The narrative tenses are the types of past tense that are used when telling a story. So when you're writing a story, you need to consider certain tenses and what is the impact of those sentences in writing and how do the readers read your story. You will understand what does each tense stand for and when to use them. The past continuous tense is used to set the scene. The setting of the scene, past continuous tense. For example, the sun, the day, it was raining. The past simple describes action in the story. Simple past. She woke up. The past perfect is used to talk about things that happened before the beginning of the story. She had planned to go out. So when you select the right tense for writing, your time zone is understood when you're writing in the correct when you're writing the action of the story, when you're writing something that happened in the past, when you're describing the scene. Let us see one such example that is before us so that we have a better understanding regarding the construction and the time zone. A crowd of people were celebrating the new year when one of the young men kneeled down or knelt down, both are correct, knelt down in front of his girlfriend and asked her to marry him. He had planned everything beforehand. Now let us analyze the tenses. You are on the timeline, this is the timeline, and you are always in the present zone. Now, when we are reading this story, a crowd of people were celebrating. So this is a past continuous action. Were celebrating. They, you can see them celebrating. You can see them celebrating. They continue to celebrate. When, that means in between, an interrupting action took place when when one of the young men knelt down. You can see in simple past tense, knelt down because it's a short term interrupting action. And asked, again simple past because it's a short term interrupting action. Had planned is that when something took place before the actions of the story. Past perfect is used to talk about things that happened before the beginning of the story. He had planned something beforehand what he's going to do. So this is how the tenses are used in the story. I hope that it is understood. You need to take down these 3 points. That is, past continuous tense is used to set the scene, simple past is used to describe the actions in the story, and past perfect is used to talk about things that happened before the beginning of the story. And when writing the story, you have to be very careful, keep it handy as a checklist. what tense to use, and when you have finished your drafting, you need to go back and correct your tenses, making sure that you use past continuous for setting the scene, simple past tense for the actions of the story, and past perfect for the actions that took place before the story began. Thank you very much. With this, we have come to the end of the story. If you like the video, click on like, share, and subscribe. Thank you very much for your kind attention.